Hi, this is Dr. Otto Janke for the Empire Longevity Insiders Longevity Live. It is March 29th, and I'm recording this because there's a couple things I'm going to be adding down below for you. And I'm on my computer right now, of course, and I'm going to be dodging left and right um, with my pages in front of me. I think it's super, super important in Empire Longevity that not only do we show you the things that we think you should be doing or having or making part of your life for the future, so your next decades can be your next best decades. We do talk about the AI, the technologies, which ones we think are going to be important for you. Maybe some of the supplements that you should be taking. Maybe some lifestyle changes you should be adapting for the future that you may not be doing right now. I think there's a whole area of massive amounts of information of things we should be doing, adding on, the positive things we should be adding on into our lives. I think those are just absolutely important. We try to cover those. I also think it's important not to overwhelm you with do this, do this, do this. Get this, go get this. This is the new thing, new shiny thing, new shiny thing, new shiny thing. Because of this, I think it's also massively important that we take the steps now to eliminate those things which would rob us of our potential for best years. One of the simplest ones we could do is to quit smoking, or more importantly, never start smoking. A very, very simple thing. If we look at some of the strategies around that have been talked about for decades, that's literally number one. Don't smoke. Not only don't smoke, don't ever have smoked. If you do smoke, stop as much as possible. Stop. No, not much as possible. Stop. There are also some other things that we need to start looking at that we need to eliminate or dramatically decrease because they have a profound negative effect upon our opportunity for longevity. I'm going to talk to you about some of those right now. The first is sugars. Sugar, quite frankly, is just a mother. I mean, it is, and it's not the sugar itself. It is how just massively prevalent it is in the American diet. Worldwide, people are like, why is everything in America so sweet? We've talked about this a number of times. If you look at just alcohol alone in the last 5-10 years, how something like bourbon and whiskey, which was seen as a manly man's drink, now there's so much maple and honey in bourbons and whiskeys that makes it so much sweeter than it was previously. And so there has to be added sugars to the alcohol. If you look at all the flavors that come in with alcohol now, everything is just massively sweeter. Your bread has sugar in it. If you have bread that's made in other parts of the world, it's ridiculous. If you're a home baker, you just don't add sugar to it. It's not necessary. But in America, we add sugars to everything. I'm going to leave a link down below of sugar and the different names for sugar. It is astounding. What's wild is in Europe, in European countries, they will not only give you the name of the ingredient that's in the food you're eating, the processed food that you're eating, but they give you percentages of what it is. So what we have done in America is we have made you stupid intentionally, made you blind to all the different names that sugar has in your diet. So that when you see all these different words and one may say sugar, you're like, oh, it's only one little small part. Well, you may have 4 or 5 different names for sugars: dextrose, fructose, galactose, glucose, lactose, maltose, sucrose, or beet sugar, brown sugar, cane juice crystals, cane sugar, castor sugar, coconut sugar, confectioner sugar, corn syrup solids, crystalline fructose, date sugar, demerara sugar, dextrin, diastatic malt, ethyl maltol. Does that even sound like sugar? Florida crystals. It's from Florida. It's got to be fun, sunshine. Golden sugar, glucose syrup solids, grape sugar, icing sugar, maltodextrin. Did you know? Muscovado sugar, panela sugar, raw sugar, sucanat, turbinado sugar, yellow sugar. And then you get into liquids. That's just that alone was the solid or granulated sugars. Then you get into the liquid or syrup sugars, agave, barley malt. You see barley malt on your ingredient lists. Blackstrap molasses, brown rice syrup, of course, buttered sugar, caramel, carob syrup, corn syrup, evaporated cane juice. You see it all the time. Malt syrup, invert sugar. We see this list again. I'll leave the list down below. I bring this up to you because I need you. I need you to become a massive detective about what's in the ingredients. Don't be bullshitted just because it's on here, and it might be one of the last ones, that last one of sugar doesn't relate to the 3 or 4 other ones up top here. And they get away. Are the people who look out for us in the FDA don't look out for us. I mean, you have to look out for yourself the most. And that's the absolutely scary part. If we can decrease these sugars, why do we do this? We decrease the sugars, we decrease inflammatory processes to go along with you. We decrease the aging process. We decrease the aging process. Otto, you're saying I have to decrease those sweets? Yeah. There's a big, and so one of the questions we get often is, well, if I get fructose from, aren't all sugars the same? No, they're not. And you're going to have the sugar industry come back and say all sugars are the same. It's how they are packaged. And this is the absolute massive difference. It's how they're packaged. Are they in a cupcake or are they in an apple? And there's a big word I need you to have you understand. It's fiber. Fiber. And packaged perfectly, fiber. And so in the apple itself, it has the fiber, which is then going to counteract the spike in your blood sugar because of the sweetness. Once again, look at apples over the last 10 years, how they've gone from apples to being all the sweet different kinds of apples. Can I bring that up? I mean, this is apple varieties. And you can start looking at just the different kinds of apples there are and how they've dramatically changed. To the Honeycrisps. I mean, Honeycrisp has like taken over. It used to be the McIntosh and the Red Delicious were the big ones in America. The Honeycrisp blew it away. Gala blew it away. Fuji blew it away. The Granny Smith, because it is not nearly sweet, doesn't do as well. My favorite by far is the Cortland, but and what's amazing about all this is what it does, how it's packaged perfectly for you. And when it's packaged perfectly for you in that beautiful apple, the fructose doesn't have the massive spike in your blood sugar. So the fiber counteracts that. That's when you have stuff like high fructose corn syrup, The fructose, instead of being 50-50 with the glucose, might be 51%, or might be up to the highest 60 or 70%. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. It can handle the 50-50. It can handle what's packaged perfectly in that apple, that beautiful apple. It can handle that. It knows how to process that. It doesn't know how to process it correctly. The sugars. If you're going to make one great step forward in 2023 in your longevity, is to become an absolute detective of the sugars and the bullshit that's allowed to be advertised to you and secretly put into the foods. Absolute bullshit. The second one is this. The Dirty Dozen, and I would highly recommend you become a fan of the Environmental Working Group, EWG, EWG.org. And on there, they have the Dirty Dozen. And these are the shopper's guide to pesticides and produce. And they give you the top 12 foods that are dramatically have pesticides on them. These are the ones that you need to buy organically. What's the difference? And so what's the difference is that when it's organic, it has no pesticides. It's supposed to have no pesticides on it. The pesticides, your body doesn't know what to do with the pesticides. It's never seen pesticides before. And so there has to be a detrimental effect to you. There has to be. The more you eat these foods, the more likely you're going to have pesticides on them. And the number one pesticide you have to be dramatically concerned about is glyphosate, which is the big bad voodoo daddy that was in Roundup. And it's still fucking used. The number one food you have to be concerned about, produce, that is massively pesticide on it, is strawberries. Strawberries. I love strawberries. So I have to then decrease my strawberry intake to when they're only grown locally. And I know where they're grown, and they have to be organic. Strawberries, spinach, kale, collard and mustard greens, peaches, pears, nectarines, apples, grapes, bell and hot peppers, cherries, blueberries, green beans. Pretty damn good stuff on there, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I'm gonna leave the list down there. I've subscribed. I promote the EWG, and I think it's something that the Empire Longevity should get well behind. Also, I might get someone on here to come speak with, be on one of our podcasts. I'll leave the list down there also. As important as it is for us to move forward and be looking at the things that we need to add on in our lives for our decades to become the healthiest decades that we've ever had, so we can be productive, be active in our communities, in our lives, in our love lives, in our friends' lives, in our kids, grandkids, and great-grandchildren. As those things we need to add on, learn, there's also a whole set of things that we need to eliminate from our lives. One is we have to dramatically decrease sugars. I watched a YouTube reel this morning of an Italian person ordering a small at a ice cream store. And he got a small, and he says, no. I said small. And they said, this is a small. And it was like, it was like this big. And he says, this is a small. No, I'm sorry. So he goes, I want small. When you order small in Italy, it's this big. When I was in Italy, and I ordered a gelato, and I got it was like a large gelato. It was way too much for me because of the flavors, not because of the size, the flavors. In America, we get a small like this, and it's so sugar laden. We're going like, oh, this is great. And you're going like, oh, you get the big buzz going. Then you crash, half hour, 45 minutes later because of the sugar buzz and the dairy intake. What are those things we need to start eliminating from our lifestyle? What are those things? And how can we then help you to detoxify the body so you're healthier for decades to come? We start doing this stuff, we've set a platform that's absolutely beautiful for you. I was watching Dr. Mark Hyman go through, if you eliminated trans fats and the sugars in your diet, 90% of the things that are in grocery stores are out of bounds for you. 90% of the things you're going like, well, there's the produce section. That's the produce section. And a handful of other things. My goal for 2023 is to really clean this up in my own diet, in my own lifestyle, so that I'm able to move better, breathe better, think better, digest better, have a greater immune system. So it's not being taxed and attacked by the foods we eat. Just because it's on the shelf doesn't mean it needs to be bought. That's a key part. Just because someone has produced it doesn't mean you should make it. You know, you could, how many packets of cocaine for $2.99 if I was out here, cocaine to that, you know, well, people will buy it. Well, of course people buy it. It's one of the things you hear from makers of foods. And I'm often astounded. Is like, why is this food even allowed to be made? Why is it allowed to be made and sold? Well, people will buy it. People will buy anything if they're addicted to it. It's cheap enough. They will buy it. Even if it's not cheap enough, they'll sell their house to buy it. If we start with the sugars and then the pesticides of foods, we're coming up in spring and we're going to start getting flooded with foods grown locally. You need to become a local buyer for whatever you can and organically. Let's get the pesticides off stuff. I'll leave 2 links down there for you later on. If you have any questions, always feel free to message me. Let's start here for your next best decades. I'm Dr. Otto Janke. I'll see you guys real soon.